An investigation by the Mail on Sunday into the true scale of serious crime committed by migrants living in hotels in communities across Britain revealed that at least 312 asylum seekers have been charged with a shocking 708 alleged criminal offences in just 3 years. And those offences include rape, sexual assault, attacking emergency workers and theft. Bet Labour wish they still had Rwanda. What was it they called it? A gimmick?
We had a gimmick for a number of years called Rwanda. What happened? The numbers went up. We wasted a lot of money, £700 million, removing 4 volunteers to Rwanda. It didn't work.
The thing about that Rwanda scheme is they had that in place for 2.5 years and they sent 4 volunteers and it cost the taxpayer £700 million. So that just wasn't working in the slightest. It was a gimmick.
This is an expensive gimmick and it's a distraction from the real work that needs to take place.
I think smashing the gangs and border fast command control is more like a gimmick. One thing's for sure, it's not working, is it? Crossings are up 50%. The Home Office has said removal of foreign national offenders is up by 14% since the last election, and we are also taking action through our border security bill to cancel the asylum claims of anyone convicted of a sex offence. What, just for sexual offences and the rest? You go to Dubai as a foreign national and commit any sort of crime, they'll have you out on your ear in seconds, and you can forget rolling out the red carpet for people who have come there seeking asylum. I shudder to think what would happen to those people committing offences there. Very few people would do that, though, because unlike in this country, the government in Dubai are not naive and stupid. The research by the Mail on Sunday analysed court records of 70 of the 220 taxpayer-funded hotels being used to house migrants. The alleged offences included 18 charges of rape, 5 of attempted rape, 35 of sexual assault and 51 of theft. The research also uncovered 89 charges of assault, 27 of which allegedly targeted police officers or other emergency workers, 43 of drug offences, 18 of burglary and 16 of robbery. There was a case of Sudanese asylum seeker Ayman Adam, 25 years old, staying at the nearby 4-star Cedar Court Hotel. He tried to strangle and rape a woman in the female toilets at a nightclub in West Yorkshire. He was jailed for 7 years last year. In Oxford, a university student was sexually assaulted late at night in a doorway in November 2023. Khalid al-Shimari, an asylum seeker who was staying in a nearby hotel, then followed her and raped her in a churchyard. He was jailed for 12 years. In Bournemouth, the figures identified 46 criminal charges against migrants at the Roundhouse Hotel and 45 charges against the Britannia Hotel, which were just 180 yards from each other and close to the resort's seafront. The list goes on. We are currently housing about 32,000 asylum seekers in hotels at a cost of £3 billion a year. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philps said this shocking Mail investigation lays bare the risk posed by illegal immigrants to the British public. We just need to deport all illegal immigrants immediately upon arrival with no judicial process either to Rwanda or elsewhere. We have a prison overcrowding situation in this country, and yes, by all means, build more prisons. But how about we send foreign criminals back to where they've come from, making space for our own homegrown ones, many of whom are getting off more likely as a result? Instead, in the UK, asylum seekers who commit crimes are put into our jails, which, of course, we pay for, and I'm pretty sure that after their time is served, they will potentially claim the right to a family life, as by the time they're released, no doubt the rest of their family will be here, so they will end up back in general circulation in the UK, finding it difficult to work mainly because they've been inside and now have a criminal record, thereby languishing on benefits for the best part of their lives at our expense, whilst their kids end up in the education and health system, suffocating our infrastructure further. The government needs to get real. To me, this is really simple. Any migrant who commits a crime of any sort whilst awaiting asylum claims should have their claim withdrawn, alongside access to legal aid, and be deported to either a third country like Rwanda or sent back to where they are supposedly escaping persecution from, on the grounds that we, the British public, are escaping persecution from them. Right, so it's 10 minutes after 4 o'clock. Before we get stuck into the debate, here's what else is coming up today. For the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, is it time to re-nationalise water? After it's been revealed that middle-class families could be hit with soaring water bills under Labour plans to lower the cost of Britain's poorest households. Then, for the second Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, do you have any faith in Rachel Reeves? After her latest plan to fix Britain's finances is to sell off a hoard of seized cryptocurrency. I just really despair with this woman. That's all coming up. As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say. So joining me now, the director of the Sanctuary Foundation, Dr. Krish Kandial. Krish, thank you very much for joining me. Listen, am I being unfair? Do you think that migrants who come here seeking asylum, who then commit crime whilst they're waiting for their asylum claim, should be immediately sent back to either where they say they're fleeing persecution from or to a third country? I would have suggested Rwanda, but we can find somewhere else.
Hi, Nana. Always a pleasure to see you. I think we do have a system that does send people back if they have committed a crime. The government will tell you that we've increased the number of returns, particularly for criminals, back to Albania. So that is something the government wants to do. But I do want to put a question back about the statistics that you mentioned. I think it was 312 migrants over 3 years have been accused of a crime. They haven't been through the court system yet, but they've been accused of a crime.
Yeah.
Now, 312 out of about 32,000 migrants who are housed in temporary accommodation, that's about 1%. But do you know what? A statistic without context really isn't that helpful, because we processed approximately 1.1 million defendants through our judicial system in a year. And 1 million people out of 67 million people is about 2%. So actually migrants are half as likely to commit crimes as the resident population of the UK.
Listen, I'm not comparing them. Listen, I'm not comparing them to the resident population of this country. This country, there's crimes on the rise. The police are shockingly under-resourced. And, you know, we have a situation with our own people who actually live in this country. So why on earth we'd be quite happy or allow or enable a load of people who don't come from here, who are awaiting asylum to try and become part of this country, why we should allow them even to stay after committing their crimes, which is, I'm talking about, why are we putting them in jail? Why? No, I don't want to put them in jail. I want them to go back. I don't want to, as a taxpayer, you might say it's only 1%, and bear in mind this is a snapshot, so it wasn't all the hotels that was surveyed. It was just, I think, 70 out of the 220 or whatever, so it's only a small snapshot. It's not, it's just an overview out of a tiny sample group. And so the bottom line is they cost a lot of money for them to be here. If they commit crime, if you were in any other country, Dubai or any other country where you commit crimes like that, you would be immediately sent back. There would be no, oh, you can use the political system and there's a tradition. No. You've been caught committing a crime. You go back.
Look, I'm with you that people that commit crimes ought to be punished wherever they're from. Their immigration status shouldn't have any bearing on whether they're punished for their crimes. And I'm actually open to the idea of returning criminals to other countries if possible. But my worry is we begin to stigmatise all asylum seekers. Most asylum seekers actually are given asylum in the UK. They have a legitimate claim. They are genuinely fleeing war and terror. So
no, they're not. No. A lot of them.
All migrants.
Let's talk about the people from the boats. Let's talk about the people from the boats. They're not fleeing persecution, they're fleeing France. Let's just get that clear in our heads. OK, so they have come from a safe country to another safe country where they feel that they're going to get better treatment, which is true because they're going to get hotels, which is what happens. In France, they're in a tent. So, of course, we have a massive pull factor. If you were in a tent, if you had a choice of a tent or a hotel, Well, who wouldn't choose the hotel? So my point is that when they are housed in these hotels, if they're committing crime, they need to go straight back to either the third country or to the place they're supposedly fleeing persecution from, because they're now a danger to the British public.
Look, I don't want anyone to be a danger to the British public, so I
Exactly.
agree with you there. But look, the reason that people are coming to Britain is not only about the accommodation.
Well, from the boats, mostly.
I'd rather be staying in a hotel.
From the boats. The
I
people
hate
in the
camp-
boats are usually coming for a better life in terms of accommodation. A lot of them aren't fleeing persecution because they're coming from France. They've paid a couple of thousand to a smuggler to continue and perpetuate a people smuggling industry, and we are not helping ourselves by creating a wonderful pull factor by putting some of them in four-star hotels, and then if they commit crime, some of them aren't even properly prosecuted, and if they are, they end up coming out as a British citizen or being able to stay in this country because some of them want a right to a family life because the rest of the family are now here. It's just absurd.
No, I agree with you. We need to get rid of these criminal gangs that are trafficking people, vulnerable people, smuggling them here to the UK. Out of order. I'm with you on that one. But the reason that people come via France is because there aren't normal routes for people to come. It was one of the best things about the one in, one out scheme that's just been put forward. It means that people in another country, not the UK, can do some form of asylum application to come here without having to get onto a boat.
Do you genuinely believe
for Ukraine?
Do you genuinely believe that, say, for example, Afghans who've come here, many of them, they are the largest contingent via dinghy, even though there is a settlement scheme, as we've discovered, and there are schemes to settle people from that region anyway to this country. Do you genuinely think that the people who'd come via small boat would be interested in any sort of scheme to come here legally? I don't.
How many Ukrainians came on a boat?
None, because there was a
Zero.
decent... Yeah,
Because there was a safe and legal route. There was
you
an
just contradicted your own...
application process.
Listen, let's go back to what I said. One of the largest contingent of people coming here via small boat are coming from Afghanistan, and there were schemes for people from Afghanistan to come to this country, but they didn't bother taking them up, did they? So I'm asking you, people who are genuine, who are really seeking proper asylum, will use any sort of proper mean. People via small boat are coming here because they're fleeing the safety of France. Most of them are not really fleeing persecution at all and are economic migrants.
Well, we've been talking about Afghanistan all week, and we know the systems were not working as we'd want. The system was slow, people were stuck in other countries, and we didn't fulfill the promise of the people that we said could come, could come. In fact, we were happier to rescue cats and dogs rather than rescue people from Afghanistan. So we didn't fulfill our promises. That's why people had to make their own way here. But no one came from Ukraine because there was a safe and organised route to come here.
And there was a genuine war that we could see. Yeah, but we could see that war. It was a genuine war, and they were genuinely fleeing persecution.
There's a war in Eritrea.
But we cannot take absolutely everybody. So we have to decide who can come here. So if we've decided that people from other regions cannot come here, then for them to come via dinghy so they can claim asylum here, because there's no settlement scheme for them, because we are taking the most needy in our eyes, because we cannot afford to have everybody here. That's why there are not safe and legal routes for some people to come here. We can't have everyone, Chris, as much as we'd like to.
I agree.
Otherwise, it's at the expense of us.
everybody.
And this is the problem with people like you, Chris. You think everyone can come. They can't, and they're not all entitled to either.
I don't think everyone can come or should come. I think the UK should just play its part as part of the global stage.
We do.
Most refugees go local. Like I was on the border of Sudan. Most refugees from Sudan end up in the neighbourhood in South Sudan
Good.
or in Egypt, right?
Good.
But some, like the guy I met, had a dad that lives in the UK. If my son was stuck in a war zone, I'd want him to come here, and I wouldn't care how many safe countries he had to get
that's
through
different.
in order to come to me.
Well, I suspect he could apply for asylum. He probably could apply from Sudan for asylum in the UK anyway. And if he can't...
You have to turn up. You can't apply for asylum.
And what about, what about his
country.
dad? His dad could not try and get his own son to come to the UK?
No, he has to make the application, and he can't do it outside the country. That's why they come.
So he should come via a small boat?
Well, I
Is
wish
that
he
what you're
didn't.
saying?
I wish he could do what we did for Ukraine.
This is my point.
We
We come back to my point. We cannot save everyone. See? We cannot.
I'm with you.
And
We
why did
can't
the
save
dad
everybody.
come and leave his child there? See, we cannot save everyone, so we have to choose. And we've chosen that if you're coming from Sudan, if there's no safe and legal route for you, then we don't have room. We've got to make room for the people who we have safe and legal routes for. And it's not very nice, but you have to make choices. Krish Kandia, I do have to leave it there, but thank you. It's always
All
a
right.
pleasure to
Take
talk
care.
to you.